I am here with Dr. Alecia Rodriguez, who is a graduate of the MSTI PhD program. I'm so excited to be interviewing you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So just to start, can you tell me a little bit about who you are right now and what your professional life looks like currently?
Absolutely. So I'm a licensed therapist. I practice psychotherapy, and I'm an AASECT certified sex therapist as well. And my work really just focuses heavily on sexuality, trauma, identity development, relationships, and marginalized populations. I also work in leadership and advocacy spaces through organizations like Florida Counseling Association, and
Hmm.
my nonprofit work really supporting youth that are impacted by foster care and systemic inequities. So a lot of my clinical work really just centers around helping people move from shame and silence towards connection, understanding, and authenticity.
Just so important. And I love that you're able to touch on so many different spheres of importance for you
Mhm.
too. Um,
Absolutely.
what kind of brought you into this work and what made you consider specifically pursuing a doctorate?
So I've always had a passion for therapy, psychology, and just understanding how the human mind works, and really wanting to help pull people out of slums that they're in sometimes. And I
Yeah.
chose MSCI because I wanted a program that treated sexuality as a serious and multi-dimensional field of study, not just
Yeah.
something reduced to dysfunction or diagnosis alone. And Misty felt clinically grounded and intellectually stimulating and
Mm-hmm.
accessible for working professionals like myself. And I also I loved the fact that the faculty and the students brought such diverse perspectives and real world experience into that learning environment.
Yeah. Oh, was there a moment at MSTI where you're like, oh, this is right, or like this is what I was looking for? Because I'm hearing you kind of came in looking for all those things. Was there kind of a particular moment you remember feeling that or and embodying that?
I think it was when I one of the classes that we had, one of the STARS classes that we had, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is it, because I had no
Mm,
idea about this, and it made me know that it felt like home, and I
yeah.
wanted a place where conversations about sexuality could be ethical and culturally responsive and just human centered.
Yeah. And you said it was your SAR class?
Hmm.
I just took my SAR. Yeah, they're really cool. They did such a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know part of the program for you was doing a dissertation or a doctoral project. Can you share a little bit about that, specifically what it looked like and what the focus was for you?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest highlights for me was the ability to integrate my clinical work and my advocacy work
Hmm.
into one professional identity. So Misty really helped me feel more confident in that, not only because as a clinician, but as an educator, a speaker, and contributor to the field. So um, I chose to do a doctoral project as opposed to a dissertation, and I decided to write a book called Disorder versus Desire. So, changing society's perspective of sexual deviance. And
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it, I completed it, and I was like, I had no thoughts on publishing it at all.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and my supervisor was Ricky, Dr. Ricky Siegel,
Mm-hmm.
amazing,
Hmm.
amazing. And I chose to go ahead and publish it on a whim. Like, I think the
Ah.
world needs to see this. So
Hmm.
I published it, and lo and behold, last year at the eighth annual AASECT conference, it won an award, an AASECT award for a book for sexuality educators. So I was very surprised,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I again I had no thoughts on publishing it. It was just, let me write this project, for
Yeah.
Misty, as piece of my education, and just get it out there. So yeah,
Oh, congrats. That's so
thank
amazing.
you.
Oh, I'm gonna have to read it for sure. And it's really cool that, right, this like came from I'm just gonna do this project and see where it leads and like you
Yeah,
all the way to like getting an AASECT award. How amazing. Oh,
absolutely.
really cool. I love it. Um, in terms of your PhD journey, including the
Hmm.
project, what surprised you most about your journey with MSTI?
What surprised me most?
Hmm.
That's a tough one.
And if it's not a surprise, it could be like, what did you enjoy the most about it?
Um, Yeah, maybe, well, for me, enjoying the most really, other than the education piece, connecting, right? Connecting with
Yeah.
professionals who were passionate about
Mm,
expanding conversations around sexuality in just ethical and affirming ways.
yeah, yeah. When I can see the like passion like exuding from you when you're talking about this. So it's making me excited just doing that. Um, After we got your PhD, what
Mhm.
changed for you professionally, if anything?
Definitely, the expansion of my knowledge. And again, like I mentioned, not even thinking about publishing and let alone winning an
Hmm.
award. So that definitely changed, right? And
Hmm.
just the research aspect of it, my research interest, because,
Yeah.
it really focuses on my research interest focus on adolescent sexual development and problematic sexual behaviors and just
Hmm.
systemic factors that influence sexual health outcomes.
Mm,
And so it made me more interested in how we move away from shame-based frameworks and toward prevention and education and just culturally responsive intervention.
yeah. And speaking of, right, kind of where you're moving towards, what's next for you? What's on the horizon for you?
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's next. Like I said
Hmm.
today,
Hmm.
I've always been 100%
Yes, this
telehealth,
is
and I just got
huge.
my this is huge. I'm
Mhm.
doing my Misty interview. My actual first activity in my
Yes.
legitimate office now instead of,
Yeah.
and other than 100% telehealth. So,
Hmm.
I think what's next for me is just bringing more accessible care
Mm,
to the clients that we serve. Um, continuing to expand, the intersection of clinical work and education, advocacy, leadership. And I'm just really excited about continuing my research and growing my work in sex therapy, developing programs that just increase that access to affirming care. And I also hope to continue mentoring future clinicians and contributing to the field through speaking, writing, and leadership
mhm.
opportunities.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot. So many
A
things for
lot,
you to
right?
do. Mhm. Yes, and all in
And,
your new office space.
and MSTI pushed me to do that,
Hmm.
so that
Yeah.
support is important.
Yeah. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you feel like is important to share about your MSTI experience that you'd want people to know?
I would encourage students or those thinking about, becoming students to just stay open to how
Mm,
much the program may transform them personally as well as professionally. Don't focus on getting through assignments, really engage with the conversations and the relationships and the opportunities to challenge your own assumptions, and also just give yourself permission to grow gradually. You don't have to have everything figured out to belong in this field. Your authenticity will take you further than trying to sound like the smartest person in the room.
yeah. Oh, I think that's so important. Thank you so much for all of this. It was inspiring for me to hear as a budding clinician and really cool to be able to talk with you.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Education changes outcomes and silence rarely does. So this
Hmm.
field of sex therapy needs clinicians that are willing to hold complexity with compassion. So thank you for having me.